Welcome to May's Candle and Care Box. Pour yourself a drink and let's make this beautiful sign together. Start by gathering your supplies that we've included and grab a screwdriver to remove the screws from the back of your sign. Set your screws aside and keep them handy as you'll need them when we put your sign back together. We're going to start by painting the backer of your sign. We've included 3 of our most popular colors. You'll use one for your background, one for your frame, and one for your stencil. Choose your color for your background and pour a small amount of it onto your tray. Using your included paintbrush, dip your paintbrush into the paint and go ahead and paint your backer using nice long strokes. We like to paint in the direction of the wood grain for a nice smooth finish. You can see as we're applying the paint to our background, we cover a portion of it and then use our brush in a nice light motion to smooth out any bumps where the brush starts and stops. You want to apply one even coat of paint over your background, and remember not to put your paint on too thick, otherwise it will leave thick brush marks on your paint, which we don't want. Once you have an even coat on your background, set it aside and clean out your brush and dry it really well. Next, we're going to move on to painting the frame of our sign. So decide which color you're going to use for that and pour a little bit onto another corner of your tray. When you're painting your frame, you want to paint the inner edge of your frame, the front, as well as the sides. Again, you want to do one nice light coat. Try not to use too much paint, and be careful that you don't get drips or runs on the corners of your frame. We found it easiest to paint the inner edge of the frame first, then the front edge, as we can still hold onto the frame on the sides, and then go ahead and do the outside edges of the frame. Once you have your 4th edge painted, we're going to set our frame aside and let it dry, and we're going to move back to our backer. Ensure your backer is completely dry, and if it's not, you can go ahead and blow dry it or just wait for it to finish drying. Using your enclosed sandpaper, we're going to give the backing a light sanding. This is going to help smooth out any brush strokes that are left behind from when we painted it, and it's going to help our adhesive stencil stick to the backing well. Wipe away any of the dust left behind from sanding, and go ahead and grab your stencil. Use your hand to rub over where the stencil has been cut out on the front, and then flip it over and do the same thing on the back. Your stencil is made of 3 layers. The first step that you want to do is remove the checkered backing from your stencil. Your stencil or your checkered backing should come up empty and all of your stencil pieces stay together. Center your stencil over your backing. Carefully lay it down flat, and then use your finger to trace over the flower and the quote. You want to make sure the areas where the words and the flower are cut out are stuck down really well, and there's no air bubbles. This will prevent bleeding when you're doing your stenciling. Now remove the front opaque paper from your stencil. And now we're ready to stencil. So with your third color, apply a small amount onto your clean, dry tray. And with a clean, dry brush, dip the tip of your brush into the paint. And then on a dry part of your tray, you want to swirl off any excess paint. So your brush is going to be basically a dry brush, and in a swirling motion, you're going to apply the paint over top of your stencil. This is going to be a nice light coat, and then it will dry quickly, and we're going to apply a second coat. While you wait for your stencil to dry, you can sit back and relax, enjoy your drink, and come back when your paint has dried. You'll know your paint is dry because it will no longer be shiny. It dries to a matte finish. So now go ahead and repeat that process by dipping your brush in a small amount of paint, swirling off the excess, and applying the paint to your stencil again. You can see just how little paint I'm applying to the brush when I dip it into the paint. Once you're finished your second coat, set your brush aside and allow your paint to dry completely. You do not want to use a blow dryer to speed up the process when your stencil is on your sign. Once it's dry, we're going to go ahead and remove the stencil. Starting at one corner, peel off the majority of the stencil as best you can. It's quite likely that your stencil will end up ripping on you and come up in more than one piece. But just try to do the best that you can. And then once you have the majority of your stencil off, you're going to grab a safety pin or a straight pin, an X-Acto knife, something sharp to help you pull up the remaining pieces. I have a safety pin and a straight pin handy. I'm going to use the safety pin, and using the sharp tip of the safety pin, I'm just going to carefully get underneath the stencil without gouging the wood, enough that I can get it with my fingers and then finish pulling it off. You want to do this for all of the remaining pieces that are left on your board. Once you have all of your stencil pieces removed, all that's left to do is go ahead and put your sign backer into the frame. So go ahead and grab your frame and flip it over, and then flip over your backer and place it into the frame. Grab the 2 screws that you removed at the beginning and screw them back into the holes that they came out of. And you need to go just tight enough so that it's a snug fit. Don't over tighten them. Now you have a beautiful sign that you can be proud that you made to display in your home with a reminder to just breathe. We hope that you enjoyed creating this with us.